Welcome to another episode of Just an Afterthought.
Hello.
I am your host, Bree Valentina, aka the real Pepper Potts.
I like that. And I am your host, Jimmy Smalls, also known as the man walking down the road with two goats.
With two goats in the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, no, I am the star. I'm the first person you see in this movie, and that's how you know I'm a real one.
Right? You are the face of the movie. Forget Robert Downey Jr.
Who?
Yeah, right? Who? It's you. Man with goats.
Man with goats.
Man with goats. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I apologize for the dogs barking in the background. They are trying to protect the house from air. There's literally nobody outside. Or maybe somebody's walking. I don't know.
If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, honey.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm doing good. It is hot. I don't know if it's hot. Ooh, sorry, that was my foot on the chair. I don't know if it's hot where you are, but it is hot where I am.
I am sweating. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That's so funny you say that, because like I'm in my room right now, and like where my room is positioned, the sun like hits over my window like the longest while it's setting, and like around this time, this is when like my room gets like almost not sauna levels, but like pretty close. Like I have to keep the blinds closed pretty much all day.
Do you have air conditioning?
Wait, what?
Do you have air conditioning?
No, it's broken.
Neither do I. Yeah, so like it is, and it's humid in the house.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of sweating, and I turned the fans. Well, there might be some fan noise, but I turned the fans off where I am, so there would be no background noise or too much background noise.
Yeah,
so.
no, like for me in the house that I'm staying at, they have a vent that like sucks up hot air, which is really cool, but like during the day I can't use it because it's just gonna suck up. It's just gonna like suck in the hot air in my room, like if the window's open. So
yeah.
So like in about an hour or so, that's when I can usually like turn it on, and then I'm good for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
But
yeah, once we stop recording, I'll probably turn on some fans and just get some air going again.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm gonna have to just deal with it. But that's okay.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
I'm fine.
I gotta
it's fine.
do it. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's all good, I guess. Anyway, to the movie that we watched today.
Yes.
Iron Man.
Iron Man. The man of iron. Actually, it's funny because it's not even like iron. It's a titanium alloy.
Yeah, he says that in the movie at the very end. He goes, "Oh, that's catchy, but it's not even made out of iron. It's aluminum or titanium or whatever, vibranium. I don't know. What's the suit made out of again?
I think he says a titanium alloy.
Titanium alloy. Okay. Yeah.
So it's like a light metal to kind of like move around in.
Easy to move around in. So a little bit about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 2008 American superhero film based on the Marvel character of the same name, Iron Man. The movie was produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Paramount Pictures. And just as a quick side note, it was really funny that I immediately knew that it was distributed by Paramount Pictures. Never paid attention to that before. But because of Captain America, I was like more aware. And I was like, oh, Paramount. I even exclaimed it when we were watching. And it's the first film in the cinematic universe for Marvel.
Yes.
So
the first
there
technical.
Technical film. There was a lot writing on this movie. We'll get into it in a little bit, but just a couple quick things about the movie. It was directed by Jon Favreau, who also starred in the movie as Happy Hogan. And it came from a screenplay by the writing teams of Mark Fergus and Hawk Otsby. That's a cool name, Hawk. And Art Markham and Matt Holloway. And the film stars Robert Downey Jr., as we all know, as Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. And he stars alongside Terrence Howard, Jeff Bridges, Sean Tube, I apologize if I mispronounced that, and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes.
And this was the only Iron Man movie that Terrence Howard was in. Because then he got replaced by Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So quick synopsis. If you haven't seen this movie, I don't know what you've been doing since 2008.
Obviously living in a mountain.
I was going to say living under a rock, living in a mountain, living in a cave, living where there's no Wi-Fi. You just got out and you have your flip phone because the film is about Tony Stark, and it follows his escape from captivity by a terrorist group. World-famous industrialist and master engineer Tony Stark builds a mechanized suit of armor and becomes the superhero Iron Man.
Yes.
Which, yeah, this movie set up the whole cinematic universe. And it's so crazy. We were watching it, and I was like, I can't believe it. Like, who would have thought? Who would have thunk? Right?
I definitely did not.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? I don't know what's going on.
I'm just kidding.
There was...
But it's been, I don't know, it was weird. Like, it's been a good minute since I've seen the first Iron Man movie. But, like, I feel like I've seen it, it's funny, I feel like I've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Like, it's always on TV, like on FX.
Yeah.
And I've over the years, I've caught glimpses of it. You know, I've seen it several times in full, in like from start to finish. But the first time I've actually sat down in years to watch it from start to finish. Usually it's just clips because it's on FX and you catch a glimpse of it. But yeah.
It's funny though, because like I don't get tired of it. Like, it's not old.
No, it's not.
It's weird. It's cool, but it's also like weird. It's just like, I don't know. I know you were kind of like wondering too, a little bit about like nostalgia and everything
from
about
last podcast. Yeah, when I said you got to find out.
Yeah, no, I didn't get tired. I wasn't tired of it. Like, I wasn't like been here, done that. Like, I was still pretty much enthralled, involved,
invested. Yeah, I felt the same way. I think this movie, as at the time of recording, I will still say it's my favorite. And because we've only seen 3 movies so far.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's not a whole lot to go back to, but it will always hold a special place in my heart. You know, this movie, there's a lot of good memories that came from watching it with my own family and my brother, and because of this, my brother and I would go see Marvel movies together.
Yeah.
Whether, you know, I was super invested is another story, but like we would at least go. So it sprung up some memories, but yeah, like and it's crazy too. Really quickly. Sorry, I'm going to adjust. I got to move in the chair that I'm sitting in. It's crazy really quickly. That this movie, we had mentioned this, or you had mentioned this while we were watching, that like the order that we're watching, I think is a great order.
Yeah.
To be watching the movies in.
Yeah.
Because too, in this one, I was thinking about like when Agent Coulson comes on screen, I was like, oh my God, Agent Coulson, we already have seen him. We've already established who he is.
We saw him in the 90s.
You know, but like to see the progress of how the films are, you know, the progress of the journey, I guess, is what I meant to say, of the films. So yeah, it was exciting.
But yeah.
And I'm glad.
Me too.
All right, so let's get into some facts.
Okay.
Some facts about the movie. We both found a lot of facts, and we're gonna try and condense them as much as possible. But I guess my first fact, and this isn't really a fact, I guess I think a lot of people know this, so Jon Favreau, who directed the movie, also starred in it, he wanted Robert Downey Jr. to be Tony Stark because he felt the actor's past was right for the part.
Yeah.
He commented, the best and worst moments of Robert's life have been in the public eye. He had to find an inner balance to overcome obstacles that went far beyond his career, That's Tony Stark. Robert brings a depth that goes beyond a comic book character having trouble in high school or can't get the girl. Favreau also felt Downey could make Stark a likable asshole, but also depict an authentic emotional journey once he won over the audience. And I totally agree. We could probably have like a whole, if we did celebrity lives, we could probably have a whole podcast dedicated to RDJ. But we don't, and I don't, that's his own life and I really don't care. But I totally agree. I think in terms of casting, if you look at his life, it very similarly matches Tony Stark. Yeah. Obviously there are some differences. But I think that was a great choice. And I know that Marvel kind of struggled a little bit with that choice because he did have that shady past. It was definitely a risk. Yeah, it was definitely a risk, but it paid off. It was a gamble, and I definitely believe it paid off. I think, if you could have anybody play Tony Stark, I think nobody was better for the role than somebody who can really relate to the character. I think that's what kind of started off Marvel's like risk-taking persona, if you will. They kind of made a business of kind of doing what people didn't expect for the longest time. And then that formula became so popular, I think others tried to mimic it, which is really interesting, especially for the movie business, because they try to stick to what they know a lot. And I think Marvel changed that a lot for main moviegoers and the main moviegoer experience because of that choice for Jon Favreau. Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, in terms of like, when you're looking for actors, you're looking for somebody that can really embody the role. Mm-hmm. And like I said, what better person than somebody who's dealt with a life in the public eye, who has had very public mess ups, and who can relate to this character and really turn him into a likable guy. Mm-hmm. And I think risk taking sometimes is necessary. You won't know until you try. And yeah, it could have failed, but at least you said, well, at least you could say, I guess, at the end of the day that we took a gamble and it paid off, or it didn't pay off. Yeah. But anyway, another fact, this is quick. Paul Bettany, who plays Jarvis, he's played Jarvis will play Jarvis in several of the movies, or I guess he has, but we haven't watched those movies yet. But he plays Jarvis in several different movies. He said it was the easiest job he ever had. And he only worked on the first film for 2 hours. But he has never seen the film and is unfamiliar with the plot, and had no idea what was going on. And he got paid a lot of money for 2 hours, which is pretty nice. And his wife ends up playing Karen, the AI in Spider-Man Homecoming. So, and we're not talking about the Karens that complain at grocery stores and restaurants, but... No, we aren't. Even though they share the name. No, yeah, she plays Karen, which I thought was fun. Mm-hmm. Because they both play AI. This is quick one. It was Marvel Studios' first self-financed movie. And according to Jon Favreau, when making this film, there was a lot of pressure for it to succeed. It was partially due to Marvel using their characters as collateral when they received a $525 million 7-year deal called a non-recourse debt facility, which allowed them to make original films based on their properties. So Marvel wanted to have complete creative control over the characters, build a film library, and greater profit potential than the deals they've inked with other studios owning the film rights to their characters. Marvel also changed its name to Marvel Entertainment Incorporated to establish a Hollywood presence. And if the film didn't succeed, Marvel would have lost the intellectual property rights to their library. That's crazy. Right? However, the wager paid off, as Iron Man's box office success enabled Marvel to kick off an entire cinematic universe, the MCU, consisting of interconnecting films and series. So, if this movie had flopped, we would not have
the entire MCU.
We wouldn't have, which is crazy to me.
For real though, that's weird. Like, we wouldn't have Tom Holland.
I mean, we might. He was an actor before.
No, we wouldn't have. Okay, but think about it. Like,
yeah, I get what you're saying.
He blew up after Spider-Man because the only thing he had done before that had any kind of like acclaim was that
he did Billy Elliot.
What?
He did Billy Elliot.
Well, that was like the musical though. That was like, you know.
Yeah, but still, he could have been a musical star.
Yeah, he
could have been a West End star.
But I mean, let's be real. All the people that love Tom Holland loved him for his movies, and I feel like the only one he did at the time, I always forget the name of it, but it was that one with Ewan McGregor and
yeah, it's the tidal wave one, right? Or the tsunami one. Yeah.
I'm gonna find the name of it because it's gonna bother me.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
we wouldn't have the adorable, the delightful, the ever insatiable Tom Holland without Robert Downey Jr.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, we wouldn't have Chris Evans as Captain America.
We would not.
We wouldn't have, all of these great characters come to life had it not been for Robert Downey Jr. Mm-hmm. And
The Impossible. Sorry, I found it.
What was it called?
The Impossible.
Oh.
Yeah, which is based off a real life tragedy.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
It was set in the Philippines.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I was gonna. And two, the Marvel Cinematic Universe changed, I think, in my opinion, how the movie-going experience. I mean, it brought upon end credit scenes. Mm-hmm. That hinted towards new movies and new characters. And, I think, too, was the first real time you had interconnecting plots from different movies and different characters.
Yeah, it definitely made it more popular. Like, that kind of storytelling.
Mm-hmm. And then last quick fact, very quick, I Am Iron Man was ad-libbed by Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Without that iconic line, rippling through time and space, I don't know. It just would have hit different, especially at the end of this movie journey experience.
Where we're jumping now, we're leaping forward, but yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think too, when we get to Endgame, it'll hit differently again.
Most definitely.
Anyway, you have facts for me.
I do.
And I'm excited to hear them.
I do. One, which is really, it's kind of ironic and really funny. But in the scene where he has that first press conference after, being held captive, he's eating Burger King. He wants a hamburger. So he goes to Burger King and gets a hamburger. In real life, Robert Downey Jr.
He gets a cheeseburger, doesn't he?
What?
Doesn't he get a cheeseburger?
Cheeseburger, hamburger. The technicalities aren't important. What is that in real life, Robert Downey Jr. actually owes his sobriety to Burger King. He said that he had the worst burger in his life. It was so bad, in fact, that he threw out all the drugs in his car, like he had just a shit ton of drugs, into the ocean and decided to get clean that year of 2003, which was very funny because Burger King is promoted in both movies, both Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2. And I think that's kind of just like a full circle thing as well for Robert Downey Jr. That happened. It's kind of really funny.
Yeah, he got clean and he gave all his drugs to the fish. So, just kidding.
My other real quick fact is Agent Coulson, played by Clark Gregg, was actually only supposed to have like a couple scenes. He wasn't supposed to be like that important to the MCU and
Oh,
to,
wow.
to Shield. He was just supposed to show up and go. But everyone, especially Jon Favreau, loved his chemistry so much with the other actors that they put him in more scenes and then in more movies. Because then he went on to do Iron Man 2, he was in Thor, he was in Avengers, he was
Captain Marvel.
He was in the biggest part of the plot for Avengers and how they came together. He later on did Captain Marvel, even though this set before Iron Man. And then he, now he has, the show's almost over now, but, he has his own show for Marvel, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where he is now director. And it's just interesting how it really shows that there are no small roles, just small actors, because he took that role and he went with it, and look what it's done for not only the direction of the MCU, but for his career as well. So that was cool.
You never know too what role is going to be the one that takes off.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Which is crazy. I mean, this is like a side note, but like when I was in high school, I was doing theater and I only had one line in a show. And as an actor or even as an individual, you should give the very best of yourself to whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And as an actor, I was like, you know what? I only have one line, but I'm still going to have fun with this. And that one line ended up being the most memorable line in that entire show. Because I just had fun with it. Yeah. So, I mean, I totally, you just got to give your all and you never know what's going to happen. And hey, if it doesn't work out, at least, like going back to Robert Downey Jr. and the casting with that, at least you know that you gave the best effort that you could.
Yeah.
And that, you should still be proud. But yeah, wow, that's fun. Wow. I like that. That was a great way to end our little facts segment that we have.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So just jumping into it, what was your opinion on the movie?
I mean, it's just kind of going back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. I still love this movie. I remember the big buzz of them finally doing, Marvel movies, and Marvel was in charge. It was Marvel Studios and Marvel Entertainment at this point. And, Disney and Paramount were working together to make this happen. And just the buzz around it got me excited because, as a kid, I didn't have the comic books so much growing up. It was kind of hard for me to afford comic books like that to read regularly. I read them here and there when I could, but the shows, the cartoons and the animated series and the shows got me really interested in superheroes. And I loved Marvel. I loved Spider-Man. I loved the Iron Man series, X-Men, Fantastic Four, all that. And any iteration that came out later on, past the 90s, I would try to check it out because I was just such a big fan. And when I heard they were finally doing this live action Iron Man movie, I was ecstatic because, one, some of the live action movies from the past weren't so great. It was good that we had them, and I was always happy that we had them, but this felt different. And I will never forget, it was me and my dad and my brother. We went to go see it. Opening day, the opening Friday. And after I was just, my brain does this thing, side note, my brain does this thing when it's excited. I don't know if anyone else can attest to this as well, but for me personally, whenever I see something that I love and gets my blood pumping and I'm just yes, this is the most awesome thing I've ever seen, I get tingle. My brain's kind of tingly. I can feel this sensation rush through my body. And by the end of that movie, I was just it was this weird, out of body experience. And I remember looking to my dad and he was just that was awesome, huh? And I was just yeah, no, this is this was a game changer. Like, I was so excited. I didn't care what was coming next. I didn't care what they were going to do after Iron Man. I just had to have more. And I still feel this way to this day. Like, watching Iron Man again right now, like with you, like I was like, this is, it may be nostalgia, it may be my own personal feelings towards these characters and like this world and this universe, but like Iron Man was a game changer. And you can say what you want. You can say how it fell off over time with the other movies, and you can say Robert Downey Jr.'s character was like overplayed in the cinematic universe, whatever. I don't care. Like, you can fight me forever. They took one of the least popular characters that, you know, over the years just kind of fell out of popularity. They made this movie and literally changed the world of movies and the movie-going experience. And that's iconic. That is something you can't take away from anyone. And I think that when it's all said and done, and, you know, when the world ends, I know this is getting really dramatic, I'm sorry. But like,
no, it's fine. I love it. I love hearing this from you.
But like, honestly, like when the world ends and we have to start over and we're looking for stories to tell to, you know, to motivate or to uplift or to just share, there's no way in my mind that this won't be one of them. Like, this movie started off a different way of storytelling that we hadn't seen in a very long time. And
absolutely.
And I don't know, it holds up. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, I feel like you can at least watch this movie and not be like, oh, this movie again. You know what I mean? Like, you can sit through it, find something new that you liked about it or something you forgot that you liked about it and still just enjoy it. And I think that has a lot to do with Jon Favreau. I think that has a lot to do with Robert Downey Jr. And I think that has a lot to do with, you know, Marvel and Kevin Feige's trust in the project and in the process. So
yeah, it was like a coming together moment.
Yeah,
kismet.
Like there was a lot of elements that just shouldn't have worked, and it did, and that's so beautiful to watch. And I think this movie is just really beautiful to watch each and every time because you just kind of sit there and you're like, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot to do for one film. And it did it so aimlessly and so, you know, seamless. So,
yeah,
not aimless, but seamless.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it too. Like, there was a lot writing on this movie.
Yeah.
In terms of success. More so, I think, than probably any of the other movies will ever experience. I don't think any of the other movies. What am I trying to say? Oh yeah, I don't think any of the other movies had that kind of pressure. That's the word. Pressure to do well as this movie did. Sure, if Captain America flops or it doesn't do as well, okay, whatever. We can still use that character when he teams up, right?
Yeah.
We still have something to fall back on, in terms of this big team up movie. This movie didn't have anything to fall back on. It was, you know, it was all or nothing, you know, and they took risks and they took they took a gamble, and you're absolutely right. It created something incredible. I mean, if you think about it, look what all of the stuff that has spawned from this cinematic universe. I mean, if you not even just like series, but like merchandise and Avengers Campus. There's now a whole dedicated land in Disneyland or in California Adventure to this universe. We wouldn't be here. Me and you probably would be talking about something else on a podcast. If it wasn't for this movie.
Sorry, if I may add in a really quick side note, just while we're talking about it now. I may have not gotten hired at Disney if it wasn't for this movie.
Really?
Yeah. when I was auditioning to be a character host for Disneyland out here in California, one of my audition questions was about Marvel. And then from there, they liked me so much in my like training groups and stuff like that. They put me on a special project for the summer, which was Summer of Heroes. And that was all having to do with Marvel. And I don't know, like, I just kind of always, I never, this is funny, this is the first time I've ever said this out loud too, but like, not only did they like me just for my personality and, what I brought to my audition and to, to the company, but I think one of the hiring managers really saw my appreciation, not only for the company and for Disney, but for Marvel. They didn't have to a lot of people didn't work that event, but I did. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, like without Marvel, I wouldn't have a job. But, I think that helped a lot. And that's something I always just will claim because of how I feel about it. Like, one, that was one of the best summers of my life. And two, I think they were hiring a lot of people, and Disneyland needed a lot of people because of it. So it all really just kind of worked out. It worked out the way it was supposed to because of all that. So
yeah, I mean, well, two, we probably wouldn't have the characters at Disneyland if it wasn't for this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can go meet Captain America, you can meet Spider-Man, you can meet the Black Panther, you can meet Captain Marvel, Black Widow for a little bit, and Hawkeye, and all of these amazing Avengers because this movie and because it was so popular.
Yeah.
And that's I didn't even know that, so that's kind of cool. I'm glad you shared that.
Thank you.
And do you remember? Side note. Do you remember? So this is a side note to the side note. Jimmy Smalls and I, we both live in California in the OC. We both have worked at Disneyland. Is this fair to say we both grew up kind of at Disneyland or around the area?
Yeah, no. When I first moved out to California when I was about 2, we literally lived 10 minutes away from Disneyland. I could see the fireworks from my apartment complex every night. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't want to assume.
No worries.
I mean, that because you could have been like, oh yeah, I like Disney, but I didn't go until I was like 10. And I'd be like,
oh yeah, no, we definitely. My mom tried to make us go as much as we could.
Same.
It was hard. It was hard taking 6 kids to Disneyland, but we'd like save up every few years and we'd go. Yeah.
Well, I have a connection to Disneyland's opening day, but we can talk about that on another podcast. But anyway.
Snap.
Yeah.
That's
when you get to
a
know
story
us.
for another time.
Yes, for another time. But what I was trying to say is, so like we both grew up at the original Disneyland. Do you remember when they got rid of, or no, I guess this was either before or after they decided to get rid of what's the Innoventions.
Oh,
do you remember when they had the Iron? Do you remember when they had the Iron Man experience or the Avengers experience?
Yeah.
Like that, like seeing the suit like up close was such like a awe-inspiring moment for me. At that point, I was more DC than Marvel. I think I'm now starting to sway a little bit because we're on this little journey. I'm like, ooh, Marvel. Ooh,
hold on,
girl, show me what you got. Yeah.
Was I sleeping on Marvel for a little bit?
I think I was. I probably was.
I mean, you were, but it's fine.
Yeah.
You've seen the light.
Yeah.
You've seen the repulsor light.
The arc reactor light. But like, seeing the suit up close, although, it's Disney magic and I'm not going to ruin that, but like, oh my gosh, like that was mind blowing to see that suit and to be like, oh, that is Tony. Like, I didn't even process to me, I think as a kid, but I was like, that's the Iron Man suit. Like, it's crazy. And, what I love about Disney, I can't remember where I was going with this, but what I'm trying to say is that like this movie has spawned so much, and it's so crazy how much interaction with the movies that Disney has allowed for fans, like meet and greets at the parks, or now Avengers Campus, or the Iron Man experience. Like, I remember you got to fly around as Iron Man, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And I think that's what I love about Marvel is they are all about fan interaction.
Yeah.
And really relating these characters to the people that are watching.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
I definitely agree. Like, for the most part, there are some things here and there you can argue about, but like Marvel really cared about their fans. And I think they made sure Disney continued that when, after making these deals and promoting these things and implementing things in the company and the park. By the way, which we definitely don't speak for. I feel like we have to add that in at some point. Like,
we don't speak for Marvel. We don't speak for Disney.
We all know we all know the mouse NDA we had to sign, but
we're just two former employees who have worked there.
Yeah.
Who still kind of enjoy going.
Yeah. We're not totally jaded, but I can tell you some stories.
Yes, and maybe that'll be a podcast for another day.
Yeah, different podcasts for a different day. Are we just gonna start like a bashing podcast?
No, oh my, no. Look, I'm looking.
No, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
We'd have to be very careful. Like, we'd have to be very careful.
Yeah,
what we say.
I'm teasing, but most definitely.
Oh, yeah. I think it'd be fun to share our stories about working there.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a whole lot of ill will from working there.
No, not really.
You do have those stories where you're like, oh my goodness.
It's like they always say at the parks, it's about the experience you make for yourself there. Like, everyone has a bad work story, but it's about your attitude.
Overall. Yeah, overall.
I still got it.
Totally. Oh, yeah. Oh, and Disney bleeds into everything.
Yeah.
And we could fill up a whole podcast talking about how it does.
We really could.
We really could, and maybe we will. You got to let us know. Maybe we'll dedicate a podcast just to talking to you guys about our Disney stories. I think that would be fun. But to get back on topic a little bit.
Side note.
Yeah, that was a very long side note. But just about the impact that these movies have created, and it all started with Iron Man, and I think some people might disagree. This is my own opinion, and if you disagree, that's totally Gucci. I don't care. It's not gonna hurt me at the end of the day. I'll still sleep at night very peacefully on a beanbag chair. But I think that Marvel, when it came to picking a company that could represent them or give them the best opportunity, I think they did a good job by picking Disney.
Yeah.
Some people might be like, Disney ruined the some people might, like I said, might disagree. But I think, because you're right, Marvel does care about its fans. Overall, they care about their fans and they care about fan interaction. And Disney is really, really good about fan interaction and creating magic and immersing their guests into the world or worlds that they've built.
Yeah.
When I auditioned to be a character companion, character host, and they asked me a Marvel question. They asked me about Spider-Man.
Okay.
They gave me a harder question. I think I told you, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, how come Spider-Man can shoot webs or swing around in webs in New York, but he doesn't do it here? I can't remember I was like, oh, like New York, it's much, buildings are farther apart than they are here. Mm-hmm. So we don't have to worry about him flying around because he's right here where he needs to be. And he's, right in front of the Daily Bugle. So he doesn't need to go anywhere. He's He's fine. But yeah, they didn't like that answer. But it's okay. Anyway, I can't remember where I was going. I lost my train of thought. But yeah, they asked me. They asked me a Marvel question, and they were incorporating more Marvel stuff. They're really good. They're really good at just immersing their guests and making little kids and adults feel like they are part of that. Like you are really interacting with Spider-Man. You are really interacting with Iron Man.
Yeah.
And that's all. I think that's awesome. So I think I think they picked a good company to team up with when it came to these films.
Yeah.
But my opinion on the film, ooh, do we have time? No, I'm just kidding. My opinion on the film was there was a lot of nostalgia. Like you said, there, I didn't watch the film in theaters when it came out. I remember my dad had bought the movie and had brought it, and was like, okay, we're going to watch this movie together as a family. And we sat down, we watched Iron Man. And I remember like being so excited watching this movie, being a little scared because I was kind of a little scaredy cat as a kid. And there were some scenes in this that I look back now and go, oh my gosh, it wasn't even that scary. But as a kid, you're like, that is terrifying. Like when he's like getting his heart for the first time, or when he's getting that device for his heart, like as a kid, that creeped me out. But it was such nostalgia for me. And I think, watching it now as an adult, I have nothing but fond memories for this movie.
Yeah.
It was insane to watch this movie, knowing what you know now with all the movies, what 2008 to 2000 the future
brought us the past past like 11 years.
Yeah, what 2012? No, 12 years.
You're right. My math is really bad. I really didn't go to school for math.
It's okay. I didn't, but I was like, nah. I had to like quickly like calculate it out in my mind. Mm-hmm. So that's why I paused a little bit. But 12 years have passed. And everyone's grown up and gotten older, and it's crazy to see Robert Downey Jr. 12 years ago as compared to Robert Downey Jr. now.
Yeah.
And
I loved it while we were watching it, you were talking about his beard, his like mustache.
Yeah, his beard was like darker, like colored. Mm-hmm. And then and now it as like peppered hair. Pepper.
They're not afraid to show his age a little bit more.
Yeah, they're not afraid, they show age progression. I mean, I think I briefly talked about this with Captain America too, but like he had some age progression as well. Mm-hmm. And I it's just like, that's too, I think another part of why I love this movie and why I love these movies now is they're not afraid to show that these characters aren't stuck in time. They grow and they change just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I just like that's awesome. That's so awesome. And like it was so like Gwyneth Paltrow, she looked so young.
She was so cute and like almost adorable, and like you almost was like, oh, this baby, like
she was like
protect her.
Yeah, you're like, oh, Pepper, like you're so you're so cute and like sweet. And then it's kind of crazy to see what Pepper will become in terms of like she's the CEO and she's a badass and in her own way, and even to see Happy Jon Favreau, like he and his change, he looked very like I was much more serious in this movie, and then you see him in Homecoming, and he's more like he's seen it all, he's done it all, he's dealt with Tony for years, and now
been there, done that, read the book, watched the movie, literally.
Yeah, did a podcast on it. But yeah, it was just all good things. I don't have anything bad to say about this movie.
Me either.
I wish I I wish I had some differing opinion. Just I maybe just for the sake of I like battling it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And just to be like, well, yeah, or like hearing a different perspective. I wish, but I don't, because I really love this movie.
Forget all the haters.
Yeah. I like that vine of the kid with the 2 spoons on his eyes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't see that. I was too busy blocking out the haters.
Blocking out the haters. I love that vine, but that's how I feel. Like, this movie, I don't know. It holds a special place in my heart, and
same.
We could probably like fill up 2 or 3 podcasts on this movie.
We could honestly talk about this for 5 hours.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, we don't have the time, but we could. Maybe one day we'll go back and give more opinions on this. I really enjoyed this movie.
I did too.
I can't think of anything bad. And there are people probably out there that do have an honest critique about this movie, whether it's performances or whatnot, but I don't know. I think it just shows you like why this franchise did as good as it did.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a great foundation.
Yeah. Like when this is your foundation, like, and it's so funny. Oh no, I'll wait.
No, go ahead.
No. I'll wait to remind me, and I'll try not to forget, but I'll wait to say what I was going to say after Thor.
After Thor.
Yeah.
Which is in 2 weeks.
Yes.
From the time that we're recording. The time that you're listening. Because fun fact, we recorded these in advance, so
We're planning ahead.
We're planning ahead, like the cinematic universe that we're watching. We plan ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they fully plan ahead. Anyway, that's whatever. Yeah, I'll wait till Thor, which I did not care for, and that'll be the movie that I probably harp on the most, because I don't care for that. At the time of recording, I don't care for that movie. We haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
But
I feel that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. It just anything else to add before we wrap this up?
Other than my love for RDJ and the fact that I just want to herd goats for the rest of my life? No.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say I don't have anything either. I feel like we've not covered it all, but we've, discussed a lot, and there's a lot more to discuss.
Yeah, but I think this episode is honestly just an ode to the very start of all this, and a very much a love letter to Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr.
and Robert Downey Jr. Yeah,
the rest of the cast and crew of this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't really, I don't think we really had like
details.
A whole details about just there was a lot of excitement, and I told you before we watched it, I've been waiting for this movie since last week.
Yeah.
Like, since we confirmed that we were gonna watch it, I've been waiting for this movie. I love this movie. It'll hold a special place in my heart.
Yes.
It has a lot of memories for me. And yeah, that's a great way. I think, you're right. This episode now too will be titled "An Ode to Iron Man." I like that. You've inspired me to name this podcast. This podcast episode.
Well, shucks.
Oh, but right. I think it's a great way to wrap this up.
Same.
A good ending. Next week we're getting into The Incredible Hulk, the 2008 movie.
Yes.
I'm excited. Have you seen that movie before?
I have.
I haven't.
It's been a while. It may not have been since 2008, but oh wait, no, because I saw the Marvel movie marathons. So it's been a few years. It's been since maybe 2012 or 2013.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been a
I've never seen it. I'm excited. I've have preconceived notions. People say it's not that good.
It's interesting. It's
a
movie, but it's a tie-in.
Yeah.
Like there's so few tie-ins, but they still go back to it in later movies. So I can appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, I'm excited because now I can form my own opinion about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so next week we'll be watching Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
And yeah, that's it for this episode. I've been your host, Bree Valentina.
And I've been your host, Jimmie Smalls.
And we thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What? What'd you say?
I said bye. I said see you later, guys.
Oh, I thought you said let's do it again.
Let's start this whole thing over. We got to talk more about Iron Man.
We got to talk more. Okay. All right, but we'll see you guys next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, guys.